All right, guys, it's Ryan from 5 Degree Bikers Podcast, and we're at the Hogs and Frogs event in Waynesville, and we have the winners of the Combat Veterans Bike Competition. And what we wanted to do is bring you guys an interview. We want these guys to tell you about the bikes, about the build, about everything that their company's doing right now. They're doing some pretty amazing things. These bikes are some of the baddest builds out there, and certainly the baddest ones that were here today. And so I want to introduce you guys to both of them. So if you can tell everybody who you are.
I'm Josh Anderson, owner of Hose Clamp Customs. Also part owner in Lost in the Woods Cycle and Supply. Lost in the Woods Cycle and Supply is what made this happen. Joe over here, he's our lead mechanic and also co-owner. Disabled rider, disabled mechanic. This dude will ride with anybody.
So Joe, I understand that when you had the idea to build this bike, you have a great story. Can you tell us about what your story was?
So this bike started off as a smaller build, and Josh would bring me parts every once in a while, and when he'd come into the shop, he'd give me a little trinket, like a little knife or something. Be like, hey man, look at this, here's a knife. And I would be looking at the knife, and what I didn't know is he's sneaking in parts behind me. And then I turn around and be like, what's all that? We need to put it on the bike. So that happened quite a few different times. This bike's been apart 7 different times for different parts of the build and stuff like that over a probably 5-month process.
Okay, so tell me, because it depends on what scene you're a fan of, but the performance bagger scene is really really pushing in and making a move right now. Whose idea was it to do the performance bagger?
It was me, because we've had a lot of builds over the years. We've had bagger builds and like cholo bone builds and stuff like that. And we really wanted to get into the performance bagger scene, and this was the one that we wanted to do with, outfitted with the 131. It just screamed at me to do performance bagger, and I talked to Josh Anderson, and we decided to give it a stab, and this is our version of a performance bagger.
Nice. And why'd you do a fat tire kit on it?
Because nobody does fat tire kits, especially on performance bagger. It's one of them, like you said, why not? The carbon fiber rims are a big thing. He's also, even with the fat front tire, he's also losing weight compared to the stock rim.
Yep. So I went because we were lucky enough to be judges for the competition. We were asked, and so when we saw this bike, we saw it actually last night when it was sitting up in front of the stage, and then we came over and I started looking over it, and I said to Dustin, I said, I don't know if there is any part on this bike that you didn't touch, and then I was like, it might be just the gauge cluster. That might be the only thing.
The horn. Haven't touched the horn.
Oh, the horn. The horn. I didn't. You have a carbon fiber, don't you?
I have a cover. We just haven't put it on yet. I haven't had time.
So, but almost. Like I said, I looked over nearly every part of the bike, and almost every part of this bike, you guys have put your touch on, and I think it's amazing. And one of the things that I thought was great about it that really struck me is I think it's super easy to overdo it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that everything that you guys did on here fits, it's tasteful, it makes sense, and it looks to me that this is a daily rider besides a show bike, right?
Yeah, yes. I ride the piss out of this thing.
Right.
I live in the Black Hills up near Sturgis, so they're premier roads to ride up there. The oil vent lines on the other, or the air cleaner vent lines on the other side, you can see they're burnt.
Right.
Because the fittings came loose because my dumbass didn't pipe thread them.
Yep.
Well, I got it all put back together. MJK came through and got me a spare piece.
Yep.
During Sturgis,
Yep.
they shipped it to me. Got it put back together, and it was running top notch.
Yep.
Had it dynoed a couple days later, and after a cam and clutch and dark horse compensator, it dynoed at 138, 148 foot-pounds of torque. So
nice.
It scares the shit out of me sometimes. It shouldn't by now, but it still does.
Right. Well, and I said to Dave from our podcast, we were standing on the other side of the bike, and I looked down and I said to him, Dave, you know how I know this is a rider? And I pointed out the burn hoses.
Yep.
And I said, look at the exhaust pipe. I said, those are boot marks. I said, he's burnt his boots on
no,
here.
No, that's a rain suit. I ride in the rain
okay.
too. Even with them lights, I don't give a shit. I'll ride anywhere.
Well, that was what I thought it was, right? I thought they were burned boot marks, but I said I'm telling you, this bike gets ridden, right?
Yeah.
Because you can tell a difference, and I think that's the performance baggers are built like purpose built, right? They're supposed to be ridden,
right?
And so that was the one thing that I liked about it when I saw the bike. I mean, obviously they're clean. I could tell you guys detailed it, but I could also tell that the bike is ridden.
Yeah.
And so I love that idea. I love to be able to highlight a builder that's building a bike that's ridden. I mean, I think that's the point of them.
Yeah.
I know there's motorcycles for art. I get that too. But for me, I'm a rider. I mean, I live in North Dakota. To come down here, I'm on an 8-day motorcycle trip right now. I'll put 4,000 miles on my bike on this trip. That's, I like my bike to look nice too, but you can look at my bike and see it gets ridden. I mean, that's the idea. So tell me, Joe, you also are doing and building bikes for guys who aren't completely able-bodied like me, right?
Yes,
so tell me a little bit about what you do for those kind of things.
All right, so as you see, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm a double amputee below the knee from a motorcycle accident back in 2015. And I've always had a passion to ride. Even with my accident, I didn't let it slow me down. And just a lot of trial and error, getting what's comfortable for me. Like I said, we ride these bikes like crazy. Me and him just did, in May, we did all the way to Florida and back on the bikes. Yeah, just adapting everything to where it works for us and stuff like this. This tri-glide's outfitted with rear air ride, easy for me to get on and off the bike because when it's up at normal height, it's a little bit more difficult. Also, it has a Pingle electronic shifter on it. I shifted up on the handlebars on the two buttons right there. Up is up and down is down. And I still use the clutch.
What about braking?
Braking, it's all done with gearing and front brake. The 2014 and up tri-glides, they come with 6-piston calipers up front, so the braking on it's remarkable. And also engine braking is a big deal. Now, for somebody else, also, like I plan on putting a proportioning valve to where I push the front brake and it also activates the rears.
Okay.
The rears too. But it's just kind of adapted so that me and my wife can ride all over the country. We did 1,000 miles in less than 36 hours on the way back from Sturgis this year. It's just a really big part of what I like to do. Right now we're in the workings of, I have a quadriplegic friend, and we're in the workings of, we've already set him up on my tri-glide. First time he's ever been on a bike since his accident back in, I think it was 2010, 2011 time period. He got to rev it up and he felt good, and we're in the workings right now in the talks about building him something so that he can get back with his knees in the wind.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but both you gentlemen are veterans.
I am.
Oh, you are, okay.
Our other business partner, Dave, is also a veteran.
Okay.
I am a local from around here. I've been here for 36 years. And I've just been a mechanic all my life. I've recently started working on bikes since my accident. I found out that I can get around on bikes a lot easier than I can crawling underneath the hood of a car. So I kind of adapted back in 2015. I actually opened up No Legs Customs, that was my own personal shop. And I had a great customer base and great business, but bigger aspirations and to help out the community better and stuff like that. My two best friends and me, we put our heads together and created one awesome shop to where we can help my customers and our customers out even more.
And tell us again, what's the name of your shop here?
Lost in the Woods Cycle and Supply.
Okay, and you're located?
469 Marshall Drive in St. Robert, Missouri.
All right, so we have another one of your builds here, and you've got to tell me about this one because this is a bike that's not being built by Harley anymore.
Yep.
It's been thrown to the Harley gods to never be seen again. So tell us a little bit about this build, because this one, to me, what stood out is the paint. This blue is my wife loves blue. Justin loves blue. The paint is what really stood out. But there's some details on this bike that I think people have to pay attention to because they're unique to what you have done with this bike. So tell us about those.
So like you said, we started out as an 09 Crossbones. Our business partner, David Brown, it was his motorcycle to begin with. It's since changed a few hands, and I was able to acquire it back, thank God, because I love this bike. It's fun as shit to ride. So we got to thinking, how could we make this Cholo, but our version of Cholo? And the biggest thing was the Dirty Bird upswept fishtails.
Pipes, yep.
And we just loved the look, and to accent it, we went with a stretched fender. But throughout the process, you know, I always think back to other bikes that I've seen and other builders and whatnot, and we wanted to go with a clean bar look, and the best one that we found was Exile Cycles, Russ Mitchell.
Yep.
So we called him up, and we're like, hey, we want a custom set of bars, and goddamn, Russ Mitchell himself called us back. And,
That's awesome.
And he built these specifically for us. First time he'd ever done a no clutch perch, at least that's the way it sounded. But very unique set of bars. We have a foot clutch here.
Yep.
Was actually helped out by this gentleman right here.
Okay.
His name's Red. He runs the Chopper Shop up in Richland, Missouri.
Okay.
He helped us out with that because we had no idea what we were doing because it was so long ago, you know, in this whole process. But he helped us out with that, and it's like, duh, that makes absolute sense. But along with that, there's a shop in my hometown, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Twisted Choppers. We got our hand shifter from because we couldn't find anything else that would work on this year model of bike. So we scoured and scoured and scoured, got to talking to people, and finally found that. We had to do a little modifying, a little bending. We painted it up, found a cool, you know, knob for it and everything. But we wanted to do something different that we hadn't seen on any other bikes.
Yep.
You know, along with the 23-inch stock-looking front wheel.
Yep.
No fender. We didn't rake it, nothing. So it's lifted in the front a little bit, kind of a throwback to the old chopper scene. Obviously, it's not an old school chopper, but people know what they're looking at. They'll see that. But yeah, otherwise it was just very tasteful, you know, accents and whatnot that we did.
Super clean is how I would describe this, and I think the biggest thing from the Cholo style, and you talked about it right in the very beginning, was the front end to me is so clean.
Yeah.
with Russell Mitchell's bars, and
Yep.
there's no, you know, that seems to be one of the things you see. It's kind of a signature of a lot of Cholo bikes is you see the wires and the cords and everything coming off the front of the bars, and I think how you've highlighted this with really none of that visible, that the lines just follow all the way through. And it really, those things really stood out to me when we were looking at this bike and just kind of going over all of the things. I mean, the color is blue, right, in the sun, and then right now you can see purple in it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things I think about this bike that really stood out and just were great. The Springer front end is amazing. You still got
license plate now.
Yep, license plate moved down.
You don't see that.
All of the, I mean, it's so clean. It has all the signals on it that you'd see, but they're so integrated in everything, right? So you have the small signals.
Yeah,
in the
we
front.
got the alloy art fronts, alloy art rears.
Yep,
we were looking for something clean, simple, and small, but yet still bright as hell.
Yeah, and when you look, you can't see. I mean, you can't see wires. I mean, all the stuff that make our bikes ugly has been cleaned up,
Right.
and that I love the idea and the aspect of that. And then using a bike that would be, you know, familiar to people that have been riding for a while, because you can see the frame of it, you can see the body of it, but changed just enough that it looks completely like a new bike.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. The other thing that I really love about this is that now we've shown you guys 3 bikes. We've shown you the Crossbones that you've heavily modified into this great looking Cholo bike, the Performance Bagger, and a trike, and all 3 of these bikes are completely different and unique, which I think is amazing and a testament to both your guys' skill and your partnership, and I really think that that's great. And so thank you guys very, very much for giving us the time.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations, these builds are amazing. Thank you, Joe, for giving us the time. Hey man, I am so glad to see that you're still on a bike.
Oh yeah.
That is amazing. We talk about that so much on our podcast about, you know, what riding and motorcycling means to other people, and the fact that, you know, we can see somebody who is not as able as I am, and you make no excuses and you make it happen. That's impressive, and I really like that, and that you have a partner who is supporting you in this and making all this happen. You guys you should be proud of what you've done. You should be proud of the builds that you're making. you on a bike, man, and the miles you're doing, it's so impressive. So thank you guys again for your time. Hey, you guys make sure that you're checking out. Make sure, Joe, tell them again what's the name of your company.
Lost in the Woods Cycle and Supply out of St. Robert, Missouri.
Okay.
We are on Facebook.
You're on Facebook, okay?
Hose Clamp Customs.
And Hose Clamps Customs. Make sure that you guys are checking them out and give them a follow on Facebook, Instagram. Find all their social medias and get out there and follow them because these guys are doing amazing things. So thank you guys again for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.